Let's move on to another big story outside of the debate that has been ongoing here in D.C., which I'm actually, there's a couple elements of this that have become very interesting. You guys over The Intercept have done some great reporting about some of the subtext of this indictment. Put this up on the screen, which is really fascinating. So Ken tweeted out here, Egyptian intelligence may have been trying to recruit Senator Bob Menendez as a spy, according to 4 former CIA officers. Let me go ahead and read you a little bit of this report. They said national security experts say the indictment's reference to Egyptian intelligence officials and Menendez's disclosure of highly sensitive and non-public info to Egyptian officials suggest that more than a garden variety corruption scheme, there may be an intelligence element to the charges. Egypt's elicitation of information resembles a textbook recruitment pass, an intelligence operation intended to recruit an asset. 4 former CIA officers told The Intercept. What more can you tell us about this, Ryan?
It goes back to the question of whether or not an asset is recruitable. Like you have to, as an intelligence agency, you have to try to figure out whether or not this person is someone you can get. Actually, and back in 2015, 2016, when people were accusing Trump of being a Russian asset, I asked some CIA folks. They're like, he's what we would call an unrecruitable asset. It's like, because you can't trust him with any information that you give him. You don't know. Now, you might be able to like manipulate him for your own advantage. But you absolutely, he cannot be a recruited asset. And so the way that you start with some of these assets is you ask for small things that aren't necessarily damaging, but that they know they're not supposed to give you. And the key one here that they asked was the size and details about the the U.S. embassy in Cairo, because that is known to be a center of kind of intelligence activity. All embassies are on some level, but certainly the one in Cairo is. And so for Menendez to give non-public information about that is A, useful to the intelligence operations of not just the Egyptians, but the Emiratis, who basically run the Egyptians' DC operation. But it's a sign that, okay, he's willing to cross lines.
Which is what he did. I mean, what is it? He got the non-public information as the Senate Foreign Relations Chairman. He checked, he texted it to his wife. And then his wife related to the man who bought her a very nice Mercedes, who she then thanked via text message.
Allegedly.
Not that, sorry, allegedly. Allegedly. To all of this. It's all a little bit stunning. Krystal, you flagged this. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Currently, there are, 28 senators, Democratic senators, that have come out. So more than half the caucus, actually, who have called for Senator Menendez to resign. However, not one Republican has come out to say that Menendez should resign. The only one I saw was John Cornyn, who said, quote, "I think all my Democratic colleagues should resign."
That's kind of a good line,
Let's give it to him. It is a good line. And I was curious, Emily, for your take as to why. I think it's because if you say that Menendez should resign, it then impugns Trump, because it would imply that indictment is, in any way like some sort of fact pattern that correlates to guilt, and that they don't want to box himself into a corner, and they would rather just let the Dems play into it on their own. What do you think?
Yeah, I think first of all, that's right. But second of all, it's a wonderful political tool to have the Senate Foreign Relations Chairman. I know he stepped down from that, but to have him still sitting as a member of the Senate is a wonderful political tool. So why call for him to resign when you can continue to say Democrats have a likely Egyptian asset, someone as corrupt as Menendez in the Senate? But the other problem with that, though, is all the Democratic senators have essentially neutralized that line of attack by calling for him to resign. Has Biden called on him?
No, he is not.
That's a big problem for the Democrats.
And Schumer hasn't either. I mean, it's wild. So I've got Tom Cotton and Marco Rubio, but Tom Cotton went into detail, actually sort of overtly came out to defend Menendez, and I think his reasoning is illustrative. He says the charges against Senator Menendez are serious and troubling. At the same time, the Department of Justice has a troubling record of failure and corruption in cases against public figures, from Ted Stevens to Bob McDonnell to Donald Trump to Bob Menendez the last time around. Senator Menendez has a right to test the government's evidence in court. Just like any other citizen, he should be judged by jurors and New Jersey's voters, not by Democratic politicians who now view him as inconvenient to their hold on power, which is that part is kind of ridiculous given the fact that they intentionally made him chair of this very powerful committee. But Ryan, what is going on here because I didn't actually see this coming. I thought, because Republicans, I get they look like hypocrites if they call him out, but not Trump or whatever. But they're willing to be hypocrites in any manner of other ways. So why was this the bridge too far where they felt the need to back up this man who is charged with the most cartoonish levels of government corruption that you can possibly imagine?
I think it goes partly back to what Emily's saying. There's that famous Napoleon line where he says, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Yeah. So just let Democrats keep foundering on this. But also, I think they want to break all the norms around this stuff. And this helps break the norms.
Yeah,
because the norm would be that if a president is convicted or even indicted under these types of circumstances, that he would, go away out of public life. Like, that's the old norm. That obviously Trump is not doing that. And so to make it seem a little bit normal for him not to do that, you have to smash all these other ones. And so if you just kind of push through this, and you have corruption everywhere, then it's like, well, everybody's corrupt, so who cares?
Well, I was just going to quickly add, there's this sort of bubbling idea on the right, or theory on the right, that, and I think it's echoed in Tom Cotton's statement, that Menendez became inconvenient because of his positions on Iran and Cuba, based on what the Biden administration wants to do, or people in the Biden administration want to do. I know, it sounds, but that is the deep state, basically, came out to get Menendez.
Must have done something right if the deep state is going after him.
That wouldn't hold water, because then they would have gotten rid of him way before that, and they wouldn't have made
him a chair of the Foreign Relations Committee.
So it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
I think it's just Trump. I honestly think Trump is I think in 5-10 years ago, they would have called for him to resign. I think now, with Trump under indictment, just saying that an elected official should resign because of said indictment, they're like, well, why would we then have to go walk down the hallway and be like, well, why should Senator Menendez resign if Donald Trump shouldn't run for president? They're like, oh, and they'd rather not get into it. And so the two who are willing to come out and speak for Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, those are more ambitious politicians. They probably want to get on Trump's good side whenever they see something like that. The rest of them, they're just happy to stay quiet.
Or they want Menendez there because of his positions on Cuba and Iran.
Oh, God, another good point.
But also, good point. Do these guys not have Signal and disappearing messages? You're the head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. They have not cracked Signal yet. Signal's secure still.
Well, we don't know. I don't know if that's true.
Don't give these people any advice, right?
No, it didn't work for the D.C. government.
I think they did crack Signal. I think the NSA's got it back.
They can crack it if Pegasus gets onto your phone.
That's right.
But as long as you're not on the phone, right? But everybody's probably on his phone.
But I do find it really disturbing. Even him, Cotton, overtly backing up the Supreme Court's. The Supreme Court has basically made it so that corruption, the definition of corruption, is literally like getting a sack of cash and saying on camera, I am taking this cash to do your bidding in this specific way. And this does go back to the Bob McDonnell case in particular. And so, the Republican Party at times has talked a big game about corruption very recently. And so for them now to totally back away from that and just completely get on the side of what even is corruption and who really cares? And of course,
Philip Bump.
Yeah, I do find it, it sucks. It just sucks that they would take this position basically in favor of government corruption. And Cenk Uygur, who we're having on the show today in person, which we're excited about, he actually made a really clever point, which is what Menendez should do? He should flip parties, make the deep state point, and he'll be good to go. Because no evidence, the gold bars in the closet, whatever. No, it's the deep state. They're out to get you because of your sanctions on Cuba or whatever. That would work for him.
Brilliant.
It was a perfect text message.
Yeah.
These were perfect.
Exactly.
I'm just Cuban. It's okay.
And he's already been trying that. He's already been trying it, so he might as well go.
Cubans are Republicans now, so you can get better. So it all works for him.
There you go. Okay, some free advice, Menendez. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.